Hi, everybody, and welcome to Thriving LDS Singles podcast. We're so excited to have you here. And I'm host Kay and my co-host Kim. Hi, Kim.
Hello.
Hi. So we're excited to be here today. We're going to just have a discussion between the two of us today about Mother's Day, which is very soon. And as most of you who have been listening to us for a while know, that both Kim and I have struggled with our mothers. We've had issues. And so, yeah, we know that we're not the only two people in the world that have had that issue. So we asked a question in our Facebook group by the same name, Thriving LDS Singles. So we asked the question of how about Mother's Day for you? And we got some really lovely responses, some people who love it and people who are feeling really good about it. But we've also got people who are saying, I struggle, and especially at church. They do a Mother's Day program. There was people who said, we go to sacrament and then we leave. Others say they're not going at all. So we know we're not the only two people, Kim, that have struggled with Mother's Day.
Yeah, and even though I think there are some things that make it even maybe a little bit harder for singles, like, never been married, probably, and in fact, we just did an interview that I can't wait to share with somebody who's never been married, and she talked a little bit about Mother's Day and or mothers, being a mother. And then, so that's a little bit different. And then also, sometimes divorces cause hard things. People, kids get estranged from what's one of their parents. So sometimes Mother's Day, sometimes Father's Day is hard, right? And then just that, you had this vision of being a family, and all of a sudden your dreams are all disrupted. And so you don't have the picture perfect home or what gets portrayed often in Mother's Day or in those sacrament meetings. And it is hard on people.
Yeah, well, we sing the song, Love at Home, or, all those sorts of songs. And I struggle. I'm like, no, that wasn't what it was like at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have I guess she's my grandma. So but my kid's great grandma. And she's passed away now for quite a few years, but she would always tell me how much she hated Mother's Day. And she has this beautiful legacy, we have all these wonderful, beautiful memories of being on the farm and my kids, and just cherish the time that we spent with her and the legacy that she created. And I can't think of any of her grandkids that don't feel just so much admiration and love for her. And she hated Mother's Day because she said it's just a show of all the places where she was inadequate or where she didn't measure up. And she didn't like going to church on Mother's Day because of that. She felt like it was just a big reminder of all the places that she's not good enough. So I imagine
that's someone who's actually did fairly well.
Yes. Yeah. She had a beautiful marriage, and sad.
I guess that's part of it for me too, is it's like, it's not just my mother, but me as a mother. And I feel like, oh yeah, especially because none of my children come to church. And so you're sitting there, a wonderful, loving home, and you're going, yeah, where are they? If it was. So it's a day that's got a lot of emotions, and it's, I don't know, church seems to even push it even harder than society at least pushes it. Like, let's buy mum a present, and I'll probably get some nice presents from my children.
Yeah.
But as far as all of the church with its songs, and this year I've got to go because I'm a primary teacher and primary singing a song. And I'm like, oh, do I have to?
So you even do you go up on stage to help them when they do that? So you get to be in the center of attention even on Mother's Day.
I get to be the center of attention. I teach 5-year-olds, so they need to be monitored on stage. They've got some very active. They're very cute little boys, but they're very active little boys. And in class, we've taught them that there's rules and you've got to follow the rules. And they're doing, it's their first year of school, so they're learning about following the rules. So they're doing okay, but it'll be interesting to see how they manage the stage.
And I love those primary programs. It's just so adorable. There's always one or two that just belled out those songs like no other and know all the words and are the stars of the show, and then the cute little shy ones that don't want to sing and you can hardly hear. I mean, their personalities come out so much when they do those programs, and they're so cute. And So even though some of the words might be hard to hear sometimes, that just the program itself is always adorable.
The children are, and I really love my little 5-year-olds. It's what are we, not quite halfway through the year, so I'm getting there. But so that bit is nice, and they do come from some good families, so they will be able to sing that with gusto. But
there are those that just go to sacrament, take the sacrament and leave because it's too hard on them, and my heart goes out to them.
And so, well, and I've been that person a few times. I'm just like, you know, you listen to one talk after another about, oh, my mother was the best person in the world, and my mother did this, and my mother was like, oh, I can't.
Yeah,
you know, that assumption, and I think that's one of the bits that gets to me, is the assumption that everybody had that. So there's that sort of talk as if that's what everybody's living right now. And I think that would be nice if the people putting on the program were a bit more sensitive to the fact that, you know, so we can celebrate, you know, Mother Eve, like you know, Mother Sarah, you know, Sarah and Abraham, like we can celebrate some of those things and understand that that's part of our heritage, and we could, you know, enjoy that rather than like, oh, you all grew up in these beautiful families and you should be so grateful to your mother. And for me, that really triggers something too. My maternal grandmother was very, you know, she was one of the key people in my life. But we had a problem every Mother's Day because she would buy a Mother's Day card for me to write on to, because she was in contact with my mother. So my mother never phoned me, never wrote to me, never had any contact with me. But obviously she did with her own mother. And she would buy this card of like, you know, you're the, you know, the most important person in my life type card.
Yeah.
Expect me to sign it and send it to her. And, you know, as a teenager, 20-year-old, I'm just like, absolutely no way. And we would fight every single year about that.
Yeah.
See now, from her perspective now, because I'm old and the age she was when she was doing that, she was probably trying to help her daughter cope and trying to help her daughter feel better. And, you know, get something nice. But as a rebellious 20-year-old, you've got to be joking. I'm not doing that. And so we had we would literally fight every year about that.
Now
I'd probably take the card, say, I'll do it.
Well, you know, we've probably I know we've talked a ton about kind of my people-pleasing tendencies and how I'm a recovering.
So you reacted differently.
I'm a recovering people pleaser. But I have a story of when I was probably 17 and I was trying to get in my mom's good graces. I wrote a poem and it had all these things about how wonderful my mother was in it, that wasn't heartfelt. You know, I knew it was what she wanted to hear, but it wasn't how I felt. But anyway, I ended up giving her the poem and she loved it. And she framed it and she would bring it up all the time. And I would cringe at it way into my adult life every time she would talk about that poem, because it kind of haunted me that I had written this thing that was such a betrayal of how I really felt. And so back to the cards, she also loved cards. She was very meticulous and kind and thoughtful, actually, about the cards that she picked out for people. But so I struggled every year trying to find her a card, because I wasn't ever going to do that again and find a card that said stuff that I didn't really mean. And so it was a work for me to find a Mother's Day card that was loving and kind, but didn't have a bunch of stuff that I didn't really agree with. So it was. Speaking of cards, that was always a big challenge for me.
So you weren't quite as rebellious as me, that I just absolutely refused. And it didn't matter how much grandma like pleaded and begged and told me how important it was to my mother. And looking back, I think, it probably was, I can see that she was trying to help my mother, but no way. Never ever sent one of those cards. Because we want to be authentic. I guess that's that.
Yeah.
Like, how do you combine this sort of, and because it is a worldly thing of Mother's Day, it's all about presents and cards and all that sort of stuff that's been brought on by consumerism.
Yeah.
But we want to be authentic and live our truth, which we both agree that people should live their truth. We shouldn't be pretending. It's not, just to make someone else feel good, we say how, valuable they are in our lives. I still don't think that's the right thing to do.
No, I don't either. And I, like I said, I learned that the hard way just by a few things that I did in my people pleasing years. But there was no question. I loved my mom. I wanted her to be happy and feel loved on Mother's Day and valued. I just didn't want to be presenting things that weren't a portrayal of how I felt like I was raised. So
I've learnt to love my mother since she's been dead.
You're a lot closer now. I don't know what that says, Kay, but I think a lot of people have done some good healing work and can get to that place. And so good healing and forgiveness work, right? That
healing and forgiveness. And it's really important. And of course, it's important for me. But it's also, with our belief that we're going to see these people again, you're sort of like, oh, how do I feel about that? And I imagine that she does love me. And I think that's where I have got to, is I understand that she loved me in the best way she could, which was, far short of the Mother's Day, beautiful pictures of Mother's Day, isn't it? But, and I've tried to have some good memories, and because I think she had been a very good mum when I was very little. And of course, that's a real unfortunate thing. We don't remember our lives when we're little. You probably, your children, you think, we did these good holidays and we did this, we did this, and we did this.
I am so often blown away by what my kids remember. It's never how I remembered it. And that's okay, because you have to honor, there are a lot of studies that talk about how inaccurate memories are. And you just have to keep that in mind, because, there's no point in arguing about it, because their truth is, what they remember is what they remember, whether you think it's accurate or not,
That's right. Yeah. Yes, I've had that discussion with my children too, of like, it's also, that first 5 years where you did so much for them.
Yeah.
And of course, they don't remember that. And it's like, but I did this and this and this.
Yeah.
And so I can imagine my mother saying the same thing of like, but I did love you. Like I did this and I did this.
Yeah. That's funny. We were also I was talking to a friend about how hard it is when our parents get old. Like right now, a lot of us are reparenting or parenting our parents. And what a hard place that is for them and for us. And I'm not, my parents thankfully are very healthy, and so I'm not faced with that. But we were talking about things like dementia and Alzheimer's and being physically disabled. And I was saying to my friend, I've told my kids, while I'm sane and coherent, I do not want to be a burden, and it's really okay with me if you put me in a facility. And no matter, regardless of what I say when I actually get there, I want you to remember this.
Slightly off topic, but I actually agree with that one. My grandmother said that to us, because she had nursed both her mother and her mother-in-law, and she said, don't do it. Put me in a home.
Yeah.
So she got Alzheimer's and was past sort of, able to do much.
Yeah.
It was a very comforting thing to know that that's what she had said.
Yeah. Yeah. And the reason I brought it up is because of a little bit to what you were speaking to. A lot of parents can make you feel obligated or like you owe them because they took care of you in those young years and did all those things for you. And I just don't believe in that or have that sense or feeling like they owe me. Like, I really believe my children were really a gift for me. And I just really, oh, now I'm going to cry. I really value and appreciate the fact that they're in my lives and that I was blessed with being able to, nurture them in any way I could to the best of my ability. So no obligations.
No obligation. And so that's what we would really like Mother's Day to look like, isn't it? Was that so true, authentic love for our parents without obligation or feeling like you have to send them a card because that's what society says you have to do.
Or they say you have to do.
Parents, and so and I guess, like, for our listeners to say that all of these feelings are okay. If you've got mixed feelings, that's okay, because we do have, I can't imagine any family had no conflict or no problems, or you always got on with your mother, and probably
and as singles, we also have the interesting dynamic of having step parents involved and mixed families. And I know it was hard on my mom for her to even think that I would want to call and wish my stepmom a happy Mother's Day was hard on her. And I get it. But on the other hand, I was very close and still am very close to my stepmom. And that was important to me to let me know. And I really do believe that it takes a village to raise kids. And so when I think of the mothers that I had in my life, it wasn't my mother, it was my Aunt Bussy and my Aunt Bernice and my neighbor, Marion Carroll, whom I adored, and my babysitter that, stayed in touch with me long after she was gone, Debbie. And, those are the people that really raised me and was there for me when I needed them. And so I feel like we can honor them as mothers, kind of back to the never been marrieds, because I know so many of them touch young women's lives and young adult lives and ward families, children and women in the ward families, and really serve as a nurturer and a loving, like they say of Eve, she's the mother of all living. So she's not, the mother of all children. She's the mother of all living. And I think it's really important that we remember that and to tap into just our innate ability to nurture and love, regardless of whether they're our children or not.
So that's what we're hearing from when we've interviewed the single sisters. That's the single sisters. They're all single sisters. The ones who have never had children, never been married, never had children. It's that ability to love all of the children around them. And yeah, that's for all of us, isn't it? It's that.
Yeah.
So I know with our family, because I was the stepmom, so I haven't had the stepmom experience from the mother, but I had it as the stepmom, and I'm still in touch with those stepchildren who are now like old, like they're 50, 60 years old, and they talk about how much influence. And of course, I think we probably will do like your Father's Day is a different day. Like it's soon, isn't it? Your Father's Day.
Yeah, it is.
Father's Day is not till September. So it's like, I'm like, oh, that's ages away. But it goes for fathers too, and the stepfathers. And I know my husband is considered, like my children see him as one of the most valuable men that they had in their lives.
Yeah.
And they always wanted to honor that, even though they had their dad was there. He wasn't that big a part of their life, where their stepdad was the one who taught them to be, especially the boys. Well, no, that's not true. My daughter, when she got married, actually wanted her dad and her stepdad to walk her down the aisle.
Oh, that's sweet.
And her dad wasn't so keen on it. I don't know if she actually asked him or she just backed off. But what she did was had her stepdad drive the wedding car and then, help her out of the wedding car to the door of the church, and then hand over to her dad. And that was because that's how important he was in her life.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know it's hard on men, just like it's hard on moms that have to share with a stepmom, and some aren't so open to that dynamic. And so,
I think that would, if people would like advice from this podcast today, it would be that if there's step parents involved, allow that to happen, because they are important people in your children's lives, and an influence. And that's, and as you said, it takes a village to raise a child. How can children have too much love? Like,
exactly. Yeah.
And step grandparents is the same. Like their step grandparents can do an enormous amount in people's lives.
Yeah. So true.
And then I've had the experience of other children coming into our family as well. And somehow our family was one that people felt like we just took in the ways and strays. And it was great. People would I remember one birthday party for a grandchild, and this, one of the waifs turned up. He was the first person to turn up to this party. And I went, oh, okay, you're coming. Welcome,
Yeah.
Because they all just felt like it was part of the family. And that was delightful. I loved being that type of family that it was millions of people. And I think I've told the story about, I've got a grandchild that we didn't know about till she was 18. And she said the same thing. She just felt so, the whole family welcomed her in. because she's a living, caring, loving human being. You don't sort of like, just because we didn't know about you doesn't mean that you're not important.
Yeah.
And the more love people have, the better. So yes, it's like, make Mother's Day about all of that.
Yeah. And I think there are some, if you find yourself having a really hard time in some of the, plan ahead and think of ways that you can potentially serve others. We were just talking, like, this is maybe so off topic, but we were just talking about how important touch and kindness is, and spend the day before at a care center and do hand massages and just nurture and love others, because that's what we're here on the planet to do. And just create that love and nurturing for other people really makes a big difference. Even if we're feeling like maybe we aren't getting our needs met, we can certainly step in and help so others don't feel that way.
I like that. And I think that, so we could redefine Mother's Day as like loving day, giving and receiving love and sharing, no matter who it is. So whether it's the 5-year-olds in your ward that you're going to help them sit still on the stage, or whether it's the 90-year-old in a care institution that needs, doesn't have anybody visiting them. Like, there's a great spectrum of ways that we could share what we're trying to celebrate with Mother's Day, which is that mother's love, which is about nurture and care. I think that's a great idea, Kim.
And use your creative gifts. Plan to do something creative, because that's part of remembering ourselves as Eve. And we were born to create. We create children, and so use our creativity in ways that we maybe don't think of. This is a great time to think about gardening, starting seeds, or even when you're alone, there's all kinds of ways you can nurture and grow things, and write a poem, whatever it might be, draw, do some art. So there's all kinds of ways to create music, which I wish I had that creative gene, but I don't. Another beautiful way.
So get in touch with the creative side of the feminine, and enjoy that part of our character. Lovely. Great idea.
Yeah.
And at church, look, if the talks go all about, I've got this fantastic mum and you find it too hard, then leave. I don't think there's a problem with that. I think taking the sacrament's great, so go and do that.
Yeah, take care of yourself. Don't feel shame or guilt or like a victim. Just do what you need to do to take care of yourself. And
And I think we talked about, what other things can we do to take care of ourselves? So if you're feeling that there's nobody around to give you a cuddle, then go and pay for a massage. Go to a really nice clinic that's got a beautiful ambience and enjoy it and take care of yourself. Or go and do it for someone else. Go and give that care and share. There's plenty of people out there feeling lonely and lost and alone. There'll be plenty of people in, you call them care facilities, old people's homes, whatever they're called, that literally have no one visit them that day, and they can't even get out and do things. So there's lots of ways to celebrate that love and care that's inside you.
Yeah. And, I think there was another post on our Facebook group about how they had planned a dinner for those that were alone and to come to their home, because I think our homes is like another loving, nurturing. I'm very particular about my home and my space and how it feels to other people. And I want that to be a place that you feel loved and cared about. And so invite them into your home and share a meal or do a snack or whatever it may be, and connect with others that may be feeling that way or not.
That's right.
People around them.
We're not the only two people, and you're not. Then there's plenty of people out there feeling lost and alone, and you probably don't have to look too far to find them. So join together and enjoy the time together and share.
Yeah, can you think of any other comments that maybe we need to mention, or things that people said on the Facebook? Because there were a lot of really good shares. People that just love and adore their mothers and have a great time on Mother's Day, and that's awesome. And we need to.
Well, that's lovely, because we need to respect that just because that's not our experience. Some people have loving mums. Like, yes, you're right. And what a wonderful opportunity to give her just that extra bit of love. yeah, hopefully that happens all year.
Yeah, good point.
I know one of my daughters is making me, because I've got 8 children, and so I've got these photo frames of 4 kids on one side and 4 on the other, and it was done by a granddaughter, I think, for Mother's Day many years ago. And so some of my children are complaining about the photos in it. My youngest, who in this photo frame is probably only 14 or something in the frame, and she's now 24. So she's saying, I don't like it because she's still got the braces and
She's in the awkward stage. She needs an update.
yeah, that's right. So she needs an update. So yeah, this one daughter's actually going around and getting everybody to give a nice updated photo for my photo frame. And
That's
so,
awesome.
I mean, that's beautiful to do that. And yes, I'm very lucky to have all my children. They might not be, it's not like they're going to all invite me to dinner. I still haven't got a dinner invitation to any of them.
We'll try and get this out beforehand so they can get the hint.
See it and remember. I think it's one of the negatives of having lots of kids. It happens lots.
They always assume someone else is inviting you.
Everybody else is doing it. If I ask for one of the boys to help me with something, I'll get them to do it. So if I had one son, he would know it was his job and he would be doing it.
That's a good point.
But, I know that my children, it's certainly one of the as you said, like all those memories of them when they were little. And, one of my youngest one was the most cuddly, sweetest little pink bundle,
Yeah.
I still remember that.
Yeah, I had one that was very attached to mom. My other 2 were more attached to dad, but one that wanted to always wouldn't go far from mom.
Which at the time was really hard work.
Yeah.
You're going, oh, wasn't that sweet?
Yeah. Maybe I like that a lot more than I realized.
And I guess that if there's anybody on here who is still in that, hard work of the children are home and around you all the time and you're the single mum, stay tuned. It is hard. And then you'll be like us looking back and going, oh, wasn't that lovely? Yeah.
So true. The other thing I think that is kind of something, I don't know, we might have to edit this out, who knows, but there's this trend, especially about women who think they need to be celebrated on Mother's Day and Father's Day if they were a single mom, like they're doing all the jobs. And I really don't like that for a variety of reasons. But one is, I just don't think we can replace each other like that. I think men have very natural, innate gifts, and there is so much research. Janet, that we've had on before, has talked a lot about the research about how critical a man's role is in a young girl's life, and how research has shown that they have much healthier relationships when they have that relationship with their dad and things. But just, as much as we do have to do sometimes all the things, be the breadwinner and take care of the kids and things when we're single moms, we're still moms. We're not moms and dads. And that kind of bothers me, because I do think, that we can't discount that there's a place for dad and there's a place for mom, and we can't cover all the roles. That's not our job or our goal. We do the best we can, and we have to fill some of those responsibilities, but we aren't replacing the dad or the mom.
We're not replacing the dad, but of course there'd be families where the dad doesn't
step up,
he's not there. The kids will not see him. He's not available. He's not around.
Yeah.
And that could be through divorce. It could be that he was never there. It could be through, that he has passed on.
Yeah.
And so I think if he was never in their lives, he got pregnant and then he disappeared into thin air and the children have never seen him. I mean, we know, and it probably does happen for the single dads when the mums disappeared as well, but
same.
Obviously it happens more the other way around. And so we need to be aware of those children on Father's Day.
Yes.
We hear of, Father's Day camps or something, and the kid goes, or, I guess it happens on Mother's Day, Grandparents' Days, the child's at school and they're making a card, and who do they give it to? So be aware that, or as I said, the step parent. So if you're a school teacher, be aware that they might want to make 2, a mum and a stepmum one, or a dad and a stepdad one, or maybe there is no dad, and, who are they going to, you think you've got this fantastic activity happening but who are they going to give it to?
Yeah.
So some sensitivity in the, you know, if you're in the young women's, young men's program or whatever, and you're doing this fantastic thing. I know at church, various wards, they've handed out flowers as people walk in, and they have told the kids, usually it's the teenagers at the door, to hand it to every female that walks in, not to try and decide who's
Figure
mothers.
out. Yeah. I love that, because we are celebrating mothers, and back to the kind of Eve analogy, mother of all living.
Yeah. And so with fathers, you know, often it's more likely that there's no father in the picture. So again, the awareness of, you know, the mum isn't the father, but sort of go with what the kids are saying. If that's what they want to celebrate their mum as on Dad's Day, or grandpa, or the uncle, or the
and
whoever.
you know, I would recommend, I mean, that is one beautiful thing about having a ward family, is find mentors for our young women when a father isn't in the picture, and find women who are mentors for our young men when mothers aren't in the picture, and so that they understand and can connect, because they may be having questions and wanting to better understand their natural and innate talents and gifts and abilities, and we need men and women in our lives. So
and it's certainly the dream of church, isn't it, that we do make that ward family. And we, you know, we've been reading in the scriptures this week about the Zion Society. I'm sure that's definitely one of the definitions of where all of the adults look after all of the kids. So hopefully that's given people some, I don't know, encouragement, some ideas, some permission to have a bad day if it's a bad day for you.
I love that. Just accept your feelings and where you're at, and acknowledge them and own them, and it's okay.
Yeah. And, you know, we'll talk another day about we do have to forgive our mothers. I think we've had someone, but, you know, maybe Mother's Day is not the day to be working through that. Maybe it's just the day to do the things to enjoy your day in the best way for you. So thank you, Kim, for discussing this special topic.
Thanks for making the post, and thanks everybody for their contributions. And we'd love to hear from our group. So.
All right. We will talk again soon. Bye.
Right. See you later. Have a beautiful Mother's Day.
Yeah. Thank you.